Okay, welcome to the April 16th, 2026 meeting of the Northampton City Council. I'm Council President Rachel Maori presiding this evening along with Vice President Deborah Clemmer. I now call the City Council to order. I have to be all roll call tonight.
Okay, sure. Councilor Davis.
Present.
Councilor Dobbs.
Here.
Councilor Clemmer.
Here.
Councilor Loisel.
Here.
Councilor Maori.
Here.
Councilor Nabad.
Here.
Councilor Perry.
Here.
Councilor Robbins.
Here.
And Councilor Stratton.
Present.
Council President, you have a quorum.
Excellent. Okay, so as usual, this meeting and all participating in person and on Zoom are being audio and video recorded. This meeting can be watched on Comcast Channel 15 or by streaming Northampton Open Media's YouTube channel. So we're going to start with public comment. If you wish to make a public comment, please sign up on the sheet. And if you're on Zoom, you can use your raise hand feature. The raise hand feature is at the bottom menu bar. Click on React and raise hand. If you're calling in by phone, you can raise your hand by hitting *9. If you're having trouble, you can try to let us know. If you want to submit a written public comment, please email to citycouncil@northampton@ma.gov, and that will be sent to all the councilors to be part of the public record. So I'll alternate between the room and on Zoom for the comments. Maximum comment limit is 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, we'll ask you to finish your sentence. According to council rules, we do not respond during public comment, as it is your time to speak. Your protected speech is a constitutional right, and one that we ask you to wield with consideration and respect for all those, with recognition that this is a public space that grants you that freedom and is shared equally by everyone. If you need an accommodation for additional time or for accessibility purposes, please reach out in advance to our administrative assistant, Laura Kretzler, or to me, Rachel Maori. You may speak on any topic. It does not need to be an item on the agenda. All comments are to be directed to the council. Okay. Let's see. So we've got in the room, we have Dave Reitman. I'll let you say your name. So if you could tell us your city or town.
Sure. It's Reutman, Dave Reutman. Yeah, live in Florence. And I'm going to speak on the resolution relative to community safety and immigration enforcement activities. And thank you very much for bringing this important resolution and for recognizing the terrible situation we face. Our immigrant neighbors are living in fear, and fear of ICE prevents them from reporting crimes, appearing in court, seeking emergency services, and accessing medical treatment. So yes, you do understand that this undermines public safety for all. Planting season is here. ICE may surge in our region. So what can you do to help make us safe? I'm part of a group of activists who are working to strengthen town resolutions like this one. Our colleagues worked on the Amherst resolution, which, with all due respect, we believe is stronger than the current resolution, Northampton version. Simply put, we'd like the Northampton resolution to specifically call on the Massachusetts Attorney General and local DA to demand that they carry out their sworn duty to enforce state criminal laws against federal agents when they commit crimes in the state. That's the key phrase, to enforce state criminal laws against federal agents when they commit crimes in our state. We're very fortunate that our DA, David Sullivan, and we've met with Dave, has already made statements to this effect. But to achieve this goal, that is not only to make us safe, but to help our immigrant neighbors actually feel safe, statements like this not only need to be made and put into ordinances, they need to be broadly communicated so our community knows this is what their officials are doing to protect them. So we need you, the mayor, and police chief to speak out, and this resolution can be an important first step. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Okay. I see, on Zoom, I see Tusi Gastenguy. Let me unmute you. And please tell me how to say your name properly. Okay. You should be able to unmute.
Great. Hello, I'm trying to also get my video going here.
Okay, yeah, that might take me too. Hold on. Huh.
In any case, it's
Yeah.
okay if
Yeah.
I can't. It's okay if you can't see me.
You
My
can
name's
try.
Tusi Gastengay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
And I live in Florence. And I'm actually speaking to the same thing that David Reutman just did. I want to thank you all very much for introducing the important resolution regarding ICE. However, the resolution as it stands has no enforcement backing. So I would very much like it for you to revise the be it resolved in the resolution to call directly on the Massachusetts Attorney General and the local district attorney to enforce state criminal laws against federal agents when they commit crimes in Massachusetts. I think most of the folks in this room and on Zoom are not in hiding from ICE as some of our neighbors are. So let's pass a resolution that we would like to see if we were in the shoes of those in fear right now. Let's put some teeth into it. That is enforcement into this resolution. And I ask that the City Council discuss this matter that the people are raising today and not just pass the resolution as it is previously stated. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, back in the room, we have Sharon Hall Smith. Good evening.
Good evening, and I will take less time because I am speaking on the same resolution and wish to raise very similar points to what Dave and Tusi have spoken to. I really do appreciate the council taking this up, though. I work with asylum seekers, and I'll tell you, people are scared. People who came here are following a process set up by the federal government, you know, going to their check-ins and being worried that they're going to be detained. It is, you know, this is very serious for people that I know and care about. So I really appreciate you taking it up. I would, again, stress that, you know, it would be great to have more of that outcome, desired outcome in it, and who, you know, and we're really fortunate to have the Attorney General and the District Attorney that we have, but let's, you know, put them to use. And that's really all I wanted to say. I appreciate, again, you doing this. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. On Zoom, we have Dan Brendel. Dan, I have to unmute you. You should be unmuted.
Hello?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, you should be able to see me, but it's fine. So yeah, I was wondering if any member of the council or the council at large has any answers about what's going on with the First Baptist Church over at the top of Main. I know this was a major issue during the campaign. I heard from people, you know, every day across the aisle concerned about how much money we had poured into that purchase, what's going on with it. At this point, I think the city is largely holding that up as sort of our solution to a large array of problems: people without homes, people without food, people without access to any number of resources, including professional help. And, you know, as far as I thought the city stood, that was a project that was being put indefinitely on hold. That was a press release that came out from City Hall. I believe it was last December. Meanwhile, this year, we've just gotten $500,000 towards that project again, called the Resilience Hub. But for anybody who's seen it, seen the inside of the place, obviously that $500,000 is just going to go straight into construction. And I'm just wondering, these are funds that in a lot of cases have been sort of earmarked or specifically given to the city so that we can help our neediest, so that we can help those who need food, who need shelter, who need help, accessing various very basic resources. And it just feels like a lot of that funding is going straight into a construction project. We haven't gotten updates on it since this one in December. I know that the city requested $2 million from our congressman specific to that location, not to the larger resilience hub concept. Meanwhile, we have a shelter in the interim that has popped up privately while that group was waiting for the city that had partnered with them to build the shelter out of the First Baptist Church. So if
That's
we could get
time, Dan.
any
If you could just
answers to
finish your
that
sentence, please.
What was that?
That's time. Could you just please finish your sentence?
Yeah. If any members here have answers or could get answers for the people of the city to what's going on there and what all that funding is going towards, because I think we all can agree that we do need money towards the neediest in the city. I don't think that's controversial at all. But I see a lot of money coming in. I don't see
Okay,
that money
thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Time
Thank
is
you,
up.
Counselor.
Okay. All right. Before we move on, let me just. Yeah, I not on mine. Yeah, I don't know why. You know what? I don't have that ability. Yeah. Okay. Technical issue. It has to be on or off. Okay, back in the room, we have Al Simon.
Good evening, everybody. Al Simon, Ward 2, Northampton. Like many others, I've been watching how our mayor and city council respond to our election results. I approached this new term for our electeds with an open mind. I paid less attention to what is said than to actions and behaviors. Unfortunately, I'm seeing behaviors that suggest we are heading for another council majority, which will just rubber stamp the mayor's policies and direction. So I think it's useful to reflect on the significant achievement of the last council in collaboration with our mayor, and that is turning a 68.4% mayor into a 49.3% mayor, a minority mayor. The November election was a referendum on the mayor's policies and direction. It was a vote of no confidence. The city council election results were shaped by the mayoral results. This is why the other citywide race for at-large ended with Meg Robbins as the top vote getter instead of Garrick Perry. Meg's vote reflected the anti-mayor majority. For those of us who had competitive ward races for council, our results mirrored the mayor's results in our wards, more or less, with one exception, Ward 3. Liz Loisel had the good fortune to compete against Quaverly Rothenberg. Given that the ward voted for Jillian Duclos for mayor, Ms. Loisel should not have won. But she received 130 more votes than the mayor, which created the ironic result that the people responsible for Ms. Loisel's victory were people who did not want J.L. Shara to be mayor. The next election will be for council only. Perhaps consider my comments as food for thought. If this council does not operate in a way that recognizes the significant dissatisfaction of our residents, the next council election will be a confidence vote on the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Back on Zoom, are there any, I'm not seeing any hands. I'm going to look carefully. Anyone on Zoom who wishes to speak could raise their hand now. And if not, we'll go back to the room. Okay. So, okay, great. So back in the room. And I meant to say, feel free, and in fact, we encourage you to share your pronouns, either on Zoom or in the room when you're giving a public comment. Jess Dawson. My pronouns are gone.
Jess Dawson, Ward 3, Northampton. Good evening to the council. I'm speaking today in support of the proposal to exempt certain two-family homes from site plan approval. I appreciate this proposal because it helps move us toward our shared community goals of making it easier to build housing at a wider range of price points, while also supporting climate goals and a more walkable, connected city. As this moves to legislative matters, I'd ask the subcommittee to look more closely at how these exemptions apply across zoning districts. In particular, whether it makes sense to prioritize this kind of relief in areas where added density supports walkability, climate goals, and downtown vitality, rather than applying it uniformly in lower density zones where it may contribute to sprawl. I'd also ask if adding a clear time-bound review or sunset clause, such as a 5-year renewal requirement, would make sense so we can evaluate if this change is helping us meet our goals and make adjustments if needed. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Okay, we've got Yakov Kronrod. Oh, there you are.
Hey, everyone. Yakov Kronrod, Northampton, Ward 4. I'm going to speak about something not specific to today's agenda, but in general. So good evening, councilors and fellow community members. Today I want to talk about equity, not as a moral obligation or a critique of past failings, but as a significant community opportunity. When we frame equity correctly, we aren't just fixing things, we're actually unlocking hidden potential of every neighbor, creating a city that's more resilient and vibrant for all of us. Northampton is a city that explicitly cares about these values, and there's overwhelming positive intent across our municipal leadership to get this right. However, we have all inherited systems from the past. Because our institutions are already so strong, it can be hard to see where the status quo is failing, and the gaps often become invisible to those who aren't actively falling through them. To bridge these gaps, we must work together to build positive coalitions that bring everyone along. To that end, a new organization has been formed called Northampton Cares. We're focused on civic education, empowering residents with data, and fostering the collaborative engagement necessary to evolve our city's systems. We believe in starting with some quick wins, tangible steps that serve as lessons for how we handle larger issues down the road. And let's be real, these gaps exist in all aspects of our city life. In data access, we need to move beyond just releasing public records to presenting them in diverse interpretable formats so that every resident can understand how our city functions. In civic participation, realizing that while some know how to navigate public meetings and hearings, others need curated forums, office hours, and proactive outreach to feel heard. And even in things like youth programming, we see this in our best institutions. The YMCA, which is a vital partner, yet there is a technical hurdle requiring voucher families to register in person while others can register online. Or even in our own recreation department, they host field trips, and the status quo allows some kids to bring extra spending money for snacks and games while others cannot, creating a visible divide in a child's social experience. As one of our first collaborative steps, Northampton Cares has actually raised private funds to cover these incidental costs for upcoming trips, no questions asked. And we want to offer this no strings attached bridge while we work with the department on a long-term solution, and I'll finish with the next sentence. We have to start somewhere, and by securing these small wins together, we can build trust and then move forward together, grounded in best intent, leaving behind assumptions about why things haven't changed, and instead build a Northampton that truly works for everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yakov. I see Jen Neary.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jen Neary. I live in Ward 3. I go by she, her. I am, among many other things, a member of our Strong Towns Northampton group, and I just wanted to share with you that we are working on a new project this spring. Strong Towns believes in non-car transportation, both for basic transportation, for recreation, and also for equity reasons. We think that we need better provisions for people who are not in cars all across the city. So one of the things that we're doing this spring is we are starting a sidewalk clearing project. Several of us have taken training with the Tree Northampton folks and learned all that there is to learn about trimming trees. We're going to be trimming back trees, shrubs, whatever overgrowth is on sidewalks. As of tomorrow, if you go to our website, which is strongtownsnorthampton.org, there will be a button you can push and sign up for help if you need help with your property. We recognize that not everyone has the funds or capability to do that themselves. We were hoping to intersect with the city process. I understand that the DPW is in charge of sending out letters of notice that people need to clear their sidewalks when it's become a legal issue. We have little business cards we would love to drop in there. I've reached out to the DPW and they have not responded. So if any of you have contacts at the DPW, please urge them to respond to my email and accept our business cards that they can easily drop in those envelopes. Hopefully that makes it a less onerous process for them to send those warnings also. And I'm just excited because there's a lot of volunteerism in this room. Like we've just heard from like 3 different groups that are all doing really great work. And I really just hope the city will take the help of the many brilliant people who are volunteering in our city. Thanks.
Thank you, Jen. Okay, is there anyone on Zoom or in the room that wants to make a public comment before we close public comment? Oh, wait, oh, yeah, I'm sorry. No, I have it. It's, yep, you gave it to me. Cohen, sorry. Oh, yeah. It hurts. All right. Cohen? No? Maybe am I saying it? I don't know.
I think it's Abby.
Yeah, no, this is an Abby. I'm not that bad with names, but no, Abby, come on up because I don't know. Maybe this is from. Oh, this is from March 31st, so never mind. Okay, come on up.
This is Abby.
Ah.
I really just kind of messed with the system.
But thanks for being willing to be renamed.
Hi, I'm Abby Spector, she, her pronouns, and I live in Ward 6. I know everyone here has been hearing about Picture Main Street for years, so I just want to speak to some of the recent noise that's been popping up. For one, I want to remind folks that this is a state project. The state is covering millions of dollars for the above ground work. That is not coming out of our local budget, and it's not taking money that could otherwise be going to schools. Another piece that gets lost is safety. That corridor on Main Street is in the top 5% most crash prone in the state. That's not abstract, that's our downtown. And I'll be honest, I've lived here my whole life. I learned to drive in Northampton, and I can't confidently tell you how many lanes exist on Main Street at any given point. Even while driving, I'm still not entirely sure, and I don't think that's just a me issue. The current design on Main Street is confusing and as a result, dangerous. I've also heard that this is all about attracting tourists. Maybe that happens, and that would help support the local economy. But for me, as someone who lives here, that's not the point. I'm excited about a safer, more accessible, better functioning Main Street for me, my family, and the people of Northampton who use it every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. Okay, anyone else?
Did you think Melissa's?
Oh, yeah, no, yep, that's someone on Zoom. Hold on. Let me unmute you. You should be able to, I can do this too. And you should be able to.
Hi, this is Melissa McWorthy. Can you hear me?
Yep. Sorry, yep.
Okay.
You
I can't undo
you
my
should be
chat.
able to now. The video? Yeah.
Okay. Melissa McAborski. I live in Northampton. I am just quickly, because there's going to be a lot more coming out about this. But
I don't know what this is. No,
let you know that,
what is that?
Picture Main Street does receive state and federal funding, but there's a large list of something called non-participatory items, which will require municipal funds. You can see some things here. I think everyone knows have collected quite a bit of records, and those are going to be released soon. They range from appraisal fees, legal fees, snow removal, betterments, which the city is currently negotiating. It's going to be multiple millions in municipal funds. And it's time we get some transparency about that. The project isn't a sure thing yet. And so we still can make a decision one way or the other. So we'll get that information before the decision comes, and we can give the money back to the kids. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else in the room? Okay.
Oh, Nathan.
Oh, come on up.
Thank you. My name is Nathan Chung. I live in Northampton. I'm a public employee speaking here as a general member of the public. I'm a Korean American. I was born here and spent most of my childhood in South Korea. Last year was pretty rough because of the election, and there were some mildly harassing messages I received outside of work, of course during work too, and it culminated in me getting mildly harassed while eating dinner at pita pockets. So I ended up writing an essay, might make you a little uncomfortable. I ended up writing an essay, I put it on my personal blog. It's cityuntangled.com, and I titled it Toward a New American Identity. So I'm just gonna share a little clippings from that essay. Might make you a little uncomfortable, so just to give you a warning. When I moved to Western Mass 10 years ago, occasional instances of discrimination continued. I heard comments such as, "You Chinese don't care about open space, but we Americans do." I also have had ambiguous experiences where people who claim to be champions of racial justice would dismiss me or characterize me. It made me leery that they are using people of color as props for elevating their own identity. And at the division and anger I see suggests that American identity is fracturing. Reviving would require difficult self-reflections and questions. Americans would need to acknowledge America's contradictions, equality and discrimination, generosity and greed, celebrations and wars. It would probably take a combined effort of creating a shared culture, re-understanding the Constitution, and taking specific actions. One cynical question is whether the U.S. has a capacity for change when it cannot even provide basic health care for all. Yeah, I guess, we all have different views, different biases, different challenges. And what really bugs me about this community right now is that people are really just one-sided. Thank you. I just will end with saying, I wish you would consider different perspectives and don't try to sacrifice other people for your agendas. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. Okay, anyone else? Okay, we're moving on. So thank you for the public comments. And the first thing on our agenda is the minutes of March 31st. Right, did I forget to?
No.
Oh. Well, that. It's going to be a short meeting. Okay, hold on, sorry about that. Yeah.
Announcements.
Yeah, sorry, the minutes on mine were moved up. Okay, so we have, announcements from counselors and the mayor. Do I mind the minutes or the mayor? So any announcements? Yes. Yes, go for it.
I want to congratulate, congratulations to the water and sewer departments at the DPW. The Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection has designated Northampton as one of the top-performing public water systems in the Commonwealth for 2025 and will be recognizing DPW leadership at an award ceremony in May. EPA also honored Northampton wastewater team for excellence. I want to also thank the DPW for beginning work on repairing our streets after this very tough winter. The potholes are being filled and debris is being swept up from the roads. DPW has begun road work in Ward 2A on Crescent Street, Washington, and surrounding streets. They have coordinated with Eversource, the police department, engineers, and planners to prepare for the upcoming road and sidewalk repair and replacement. These projects are large, slightly disruptive, and are long awaited. I know we can trust the various departments have coordinated with experts to assure there will be a wonderful outcome with no need for a trial run.
Okay, thank you. Any other announcements? Councillor Robbins.
I just want to say that we held our second community conversations this week at the Senior Center, and I want to say thank you to Nancy and Megan on staff who were so helpful, and to those folks who came and really just got down to it and had just energizing, sharing conversations with great ideas. We have such a wonderful and very diverse community of people with an incredible spectrum of skills and ideas, and it's a treasure to be able to sit down in a room and listen to them and to be able to think about how we can work as a community to make change. So thank you to everyone who came. We're looking forward to doing a third one, hopefully in Ward 6 relatively soon.
Thank you. Councillor Perry. Is your volume all the way down, Councillor? On your laptop? I hear a little echo. Anyway, go ahead.
There's a little bit of echo. That's cool. I like hearing myself on stages and whatnot. So I have two things.
Go ahead.
The first is that Community Resources has our next meeting. Normally we meet the third Monday of every month, but because of Patriots Day, a unique holiday for Massachusetts, we are going to be meeting on Tuesday, April 21st at 5:30, and I'm excited to have us all host Abundance Farms, Grow Foods Northampton, as well as the Northampton Community Gardens. As someone said earlier, this is perfect gardening season, and I know that myself and the Vice Chair, Nabad, have been out in our gardens a lot working. And then the second thing, and you're going to hear this more than once in the next couple of weeks, is that I've been working for months for an official Northampton Juneteenth Festival. The date is June 6th. We have a wonderful array of musicians, artists. We're going to do installation that leads up to it for a whole week. And so just mark that date on your calendars, June 6th. Rain or shine, and our Arts and Culture Department is helping instigate that, and it is a lovely way to celebrate diversity here in Northampton.
Councilor, could you just say the name of it again, please?
The Juneteenth Festival. We're calling it Freedom Day, or just it's a Northampton festival. You can find more information June 6th. It's going to be from 11 to 6 p.m., and it is on the Arts Council's website as well for any information you need.
And Councilor, is there a way to volunteer eventually? Is that something that's going to be on the Arts Council's website?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We're
webpage.
Again. This is you're going to hear more about this as we go.
Okay.
And the best part is that we're working in tandem with the Northampton's Youth Commission as well. And I'm very proud to say that all of the people who are involved with this have been people of color, from the artists to visual, both music as well as the DJ. We are working with local organizations to focus on Black-owned breweries, as well as Black-owned wineries, and just really focusing on our diversity here. So, thank you.
Yeah, big reveal. I like it. Okay. Councilor Dobbs?
Sure. Yeah, so I wanted to mention it's a little over a month away, but Monday, May 18th, speaking of community resources, even though I'm not a member of that committee, I will be collaborating with Mayor Sierra and Director Miss on a presentation about accessibility related to Picture Main Street and accessibility improvements with Picture Main Street. So just wanted to let the community know in case anyone would like to reach out to me before that meeting with thoughts or questions about accessibility, and also just to invite people from the public to come and share their thoughts at that meeting, and I'm looking forward to it. Thanks.
Could you say the date again?
What's that? Oh, yeah, it's May 18th, Monday.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I like it. Go ahead, Mayor. Yes. No, I'm done.
Good evening, everyone. I'm very much looking forward to doing that presentation with Councilor Dobbs. And I just want to remind everyone that May 2nd is Hampshire Pride. So the parade kicks off at 11 a.m. at Sheldon Field, marches to Crafts Ave for the festival, and I hope to see everyone there. And thank you to all the city departments that help make this possible and safe. They do a lot of work to make sure that everything goes off well. So I thank all of them for all that work.
Thank you. Yeah, I forgot that's happening before our next meeting, so thanks. Okay. Anyone else have announcements? Okay. All right. So we are now moving on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda, there shall be no debate or discussion by any city council member regarding any item on the consent agenda beyond asking questions for simple clarification. Oh.
I think your Zoom is unmuted on your laptop.
You found the culprit. Thank you, Zach. It's okay. Okay. So, yeah. So any item can be removed from the consent agenda upon the request of any city council member prior to taking of the vote on the motion to approve, and then they will be considered individually. Okay, so I'm going to read them all and then ask for removals. So we have the minutes of March 31st, 2026. We've got 26.020 and appointments of various committees, all positive recommendations. And then we have 26.045 applications for renewal of secondhand dealer licenses. Then we have 26.046 application for business owner's permit, Jeffrey Miller, Cosmic Cab Company. Then 26.047 applications for 6 taxi cab licenses for Jeffrey Miller. Yeah, Jeffrey Miller again, Cosmic Cab. 26.048 application for renewal of junk dealer license from Sharon and Richard Huntel. And then G, 26.049 petitions for weekday and Sunday pool table licenses from Packard's. Then we have 26.058 appointments to various committees for referral to city services. And that's the last one. I'm going to remove 26.058. Does anyone else have a removal? Okay, so we can vote on the consent agenda without 26.058.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion made by Councilor Loisel to approve, second by Councilor Perry.
I was second, yes.
Councilor Micromanage Perry. And then, yes.
I like it.
Roll call.
Okay. Councilor Davis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Councilor Dobbs.
Yes.
Councilor Clemmer.
Yes.
Councilor Loisel.
Yes.
Councilor Maori.
Yes.
Councilor Nabad.
Yes.
Councilor Perry.
Yes.
Councilor Robbins.
Yep.
And Councilor Stratton.
Yes.
Okay. So that passes. So now we're on to, I just wanted to, 2 of the, from the Northampton Housing Authority, we're withdrawing those appointments for consideration for tonight's agenda. So that would only leave the Historical Commission, I believe. Yes, Rachel Simpson. So we could vote on that.
I'd move to approve.
Second that.
Motion made by Councilor Perry to approve historical.
To go to, obviously, city services, but, yeah.
Right, I'm sorry, to
Yeah,
refer.
move to refer, not to approve, but for referral,
Refer.
so.
I just had a thought, though.
Micromanaging.
Just give me one moment. Because it's under the same order, do I need to separate those orders? No.
No.
Okay,
When it comes back, the other 2, if they do come back, will be a separate order.
okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Excuse me. Okay, so yes, so motion to refer to city services made by Councilor Perry. Who was the second?
Councilor Dobbs.
Councilor Dobbs. Okay, so let's vote on referral to city services.
Okay. Councilor Dobbs.
Yes.
Councilor Clemmer.
Yes.
Councilor Loisel.
Yes.
Councilor Maori.
Yes.
Councilor Nabad.
Yes.
Councilor Perry.
Yes.
Councilor Robbins.
Yes.
Councilor Stratton.
Yes.
And Councilor Davis.
Yes.
Okay. So those will go on to city services. So now we're on to financial orders. In first reading, financial orders will be introduced and discussed at the full city council meeting and referred to either the consent agenda or the future meeting of a future meeting or the finance committee. So we have 26.057 in order to reprogram funds for the JFK roof design. And that's it for first reading.
Can I move, we send that to the consent agenda?
Yes, so we have a motion.
I second it.
Yeah, motion made by Councilor Loizell to refer to the consent agenda, seconded by Councilor Clemmer, sorry. Yes. Sorry, I was looking at one counselor, and so, yeah. Yes, so that motion's on the floor.
Yes, so I have a number of questions about this. I was looking at this a little bit, and my understanding is that from the CPA application is that there was roughly $1 million quote that was going to be the tennis courts and the basketball court. There was $400K of CPA money approved. There was $600K of capital stabilization money, together making basically $1 million. In Open Checkbook, it looks like we spent $132,000 or thereabouts. I'm not sure if that is the 400 CPA plus $132,000 from capital stabilization or $132,000 in total. But I would like to understand, what parts of the project were actually done. The basketball court looked like it was a bid option or something, and what we spent, because it seems like there's a lot of leftover money in this. We previously reprogrammed $254K a few weeks ago. Now we're possibly reprogramming $160. Yes, I mean, if we've got a leaky roof on the school, I want that fixed. I would like the school committee to be involved in that discussion rather than us just route around them again. But beyond that, I would just sort of like to understand why we suddenly have so much money in this account.
So if you've read the order, the school committee voted to authorize the superintendent to seek, to express interest in participating in the MSBA program. And the council also had to vote on that.
So you're correct. They used all of the CPA money and some of the 19303 or the money that you appropriated as well. During the process of going out to bid, we were told that it was going to be much more expensive, which is why we came back and asked for more funding. It turned out that that was not true. So we do have that extra money and we are reprogramming it for this purpose. But the work has been done and it's more than the 132. It's 132 plus the CPA. And I can get you the exact amount and send that to you.
Yeah, I would appreciate the exact amount, when we take this up in 2 weeks. Just specifically, the school committee voted on applying to the Mass School Building Association for the roof project. I don't believe the school committee has said anything about this particular reprogramming, whether that is a priority for them. And it was a little weird. There was a budget and property meeting Monday night, and apparently this wasn't mentioned there at all. And then it appears on our agenda on Tuesday. So I find that a little weird as a practice.
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying, Counselor, but this is our practice. Are you saying we're veering from our practice, or are you saying you'd rather have a different practice?
I'm saying that the practice, which is seeming increasingly evident, of spending money on behalf of the schools without talking to the school committee about if they consider that particular spending at that particular time the most strategic use of available money, that bothers me.
Okay. That's just that isn't our practice now, but it could be considered to be a practice. Yes.
And a clarification?
Yeah. Yes.
Did you just say that the school committee was asked about it and they did want this money moved to the?
So they had to approve. They had to allow the superintendent to pursue this program to be able to replace the roof.
So the school committee did know about this and they did approve to allow the superintendent to move forward.
Right. So last February, first the school committee voted to sort of enter into the first part of this process. Mm-hmm. And then that next week, the city council voted to enter into that to sort of start this process with MSBA.
So they were aware of it. It's not.
Yeah, I mean, they're aware of that we are trying to get MSBA funding to do the roof.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Stratton.
Okay. Yes, so there's basically two thises. The application to the Mass School Building Association Authority, to replace the roof, that was voted by the school committee and the council, to my understanding. Using this particular leftover money for the design part of that project is a question that has not been before the school committee. You're going to replace the roof, you have to design it, but basically money has been found sitting in a school-related account. The school committee hasn't been asked, would you most like to use this money for the design phase of this project, or is that not your greatest priority at this moment?
Okay, thank you. Oh, okay. I have, I was called you Counselor Nardi, and then Counselor Robbins, yeah.
So I just want to just make clear that this is the capital funding, which is overseen by the city, not the school committee. And the school administration and the school committee is aware that this is the next step. This funding is available. It saves us from using other city funds. And we usually, when we put money into a capital program or a capital project for a certain department, like the schools, we leave the money with them so that we can reprogram it to use for other necessary and prioritized capital projects.
Thank you. Counselor Robbins.
So I get all this, and we need to fix the roof. I'm always amazed at how much we have to spend on consultants and designs, but I was contacted by several parents today about the lack of air conditioning in the JFK classrooms, the south-facing classrooms. We had a student who became very ill in those classrooms, and one of the things we heard on our recent tour of JFK was how hot those are. And they're part of a long-term plan on correcting that, but right now, the likelihood that we have students and teachers in classrooms till the end of June, there is a state ceiling about how hot it can be in a classroom before you have to excuse children from the school. And I wonder if there's any money left in this reprogramming account that might be able to address that right now. If you have information on that?
So that topic is not on the agenda.
If I knew how much was left in the reprogramming account, can I ask that, please?
There would not be enough left in the account to address that, but it could. There would be about 17,000 left in the account, but that's not the only funds available that could be used.
Can talk about the remainder, I guess, but yeah, okay. Counselor Loisel.
Question. So did this order go before the superintendent and the building person who we met when we did the the tour?
It originated with them.
So, can you remind me his name?
Oh, Tony Kusniers.
Tony. Yeah. So is that typical for projects like this, that they are originating with the person who's in charge of the buildings?
Yes.
And you said something at the last meeting about the responsibility of the school committee versus the responsibility of the city for buildings that are part of the school inventory. Can you say that again?
So, the school committee is responsible for maintenance within their operating budget. So one of the things I've been trying to do is create as many possibilities to pull things into capital, so to give more space in their budget. And for them to not have to rely on their operating budget for some capital items. So whenever there's something that could potentially fall under capital, I've been encouraging them to try and include it into the capital plan.
And related to this roof thing, I'm assuming that Director Kusniers is wanting the roof to be fixed because it will become more expensive later if it isn't fixed now?
Yes. So, I mean, we know that it needs to be replaced, and this MSBA program is not like you apply and you get the funding in the next quarter. It's a process to get MSBA funding. So that's why he has tried to time it to start that process in line with making sure that we get the roof replaced before it gets into an impossible situation.
Okay, just a gentle reminder that this is a motion to refer, and we'll have other chances to address this. But did anyone else have any? Did I miss a hand? No. Yeah, Councilor Stratton.
Yeah, if I could just speak to the difference of view here for a minute. I am thrilled at the proposal to take money that was from the Capital Stabilization Fund and spend it in the schools. This is great. It's just a question of what's the best use of spending. And, we have appointed officials and city employees who are basically appointed officials, and we have elected officials. And what we're hearing a lot of is this comes from the schools. And what's literally being said is this comes from the appointed officials in the schools. I'm an elected official. The school committee are elected officials. I was not elected for my expertise in operation of schools. The school committee was elected to be, the elected part of that expertise in balance with the appointed expertise. And so I'm very uncomfortable being asked as an elected official who doesn't have expertise in the schools to make a decision about the schools when the elected officials that the people of Northampton specifically chose for their promise to develop expertise in the schools haven't spoken on this yet. I mean, we've heard the appointed officials, but we really haven't heard from the elected school officials, and that is
Point
the
of order.
substance of my concern.
What's your point of order?
The point of order is that this seems a little far afield to talk about the process. We're not talking about this order and the referral.
Okay. Well, I think it's a, we will have another chance on the second reading. And if you guys have
do we want to get into a debate about the process? Because I don't think
I don't.
Okay. So then I think
it's not on the agenda, no.
Okay.
I'd rather not, no. Thank you. And so, yes, motion to refer is where we're at. Isn't there a motion to refer to consent agenda already? Yes. Yep. Yeah. Any other comments? Thanks. Oh, Councilor Perry.
I'm all for this. I want to fix our roofs and do things. And I just want to bring up that this is another meeting where we're talking about another elected body that is not here. And this is a pattern for me. So again, I'm moving to refer this. I think it is a good use of funds that we already allocated that is going to help our schools.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in having conversations about people who are not elected to be a part of this unless they want to step up and come talk for themselves. So that's just where I am.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so any other, Councilor Nabad, did you have your hand up?
Oh, I was just going to second what Councilor Perry said.
Oh, okay.
Or the motion that I think he just motioned to refer. No. Okay, thank you.
But he did offer some sage
offer some
advice.
good
Okay.
wisdom. Thank
So any other comments before we go to a roll call? Okay, roll call on referral to the consent agenda is on the floor.
Councillor Clemmer.
Yes.
Councillor Loisel.
Yes.
Councillor Maori.
Yes.
Councillor Nabad.
Yes.
Councillor Perry.
Yes.
Councillor Robbins.
Yes.
Councillor Stratton.
Yes.
Councillor Davis.
Yes.
And Councillor Dobbs.
Yes.
Okay, so that will be on the consent agenda for May 7th. So now we're on to financial orders, we're on to orders, that we need to refer. So we have, let me just look at this for a sec, because we're thinking of moving them around for staff.
Yeah, just 26059 Sarah LaValle is here to speak to, and then Carolyn Mish is present, so that was just a suggestion that possibly taking those out of order if the council were agreeable.
Okay, yeah, what we're talking about is we are trying to, we have both Sarah LaValle and Director Lascalia here, and if no one objected, we wanted to move the orders that they could speak to up so that they could be done, and then we would go back to our agenda as printed. Is that okay with anyone? Does anyone have any objection?
We have to vote?
Can I just clarify? So we're going to talk about the eminent domain and the two-family?
Yes.
Those two? Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Counselor. Okay. So let's start with that one then, since the council does not object. 26.059, in order amending order 25.299 to allow acquisition by eminent domain in first reading. Process note: the City Council unanimously adopted 25.299 in order to acquire Drury Lane property as the Mineral Hills South Manhan connector. and that was on August 21st, 2025. So yes, is Sarah, let me find Sarah, and she can speak to it, and then we can discuss. Oh, you don't see her? Maybe. Well, we did take it out of order, so she may not have been. So, okay. So why don't we go back to our, no, that's okay. No, it's fine. No, I'm glad. I'm always, yeah, no, that's Carolyn. I don't think Carolyn, yeah. She's there. It would be Sarah, though, for that one. Yeah, it's okay. So, I'm always up for moving the order so that staff doesn't have to stick around. So let's go back to, if it's okay with the council, back to, yes.
I just want to say I had a great, if brief, conversation with Sarah this afternoon, so I'd be happy to speak to that if need be. But
okay, great. So we'll
we
just
could handle
go.
it at its time.
Thank you, Counselor. So what I'll do is I'll go A, B, and then we get there. We'll have you speak as well. Okay. So 26.050, an order referring 285/17 to transportation and parking in first reading. Okay, do we have anyone to speak to this referral?
Motion to refer.
Okay, move to refer.
Second.
Also, cool.
That's fine. We'll just get the motion on the floor, then we'll go back to you, Counselor. So motion made by Counselor Robbins, second by Counselor Clemmer to refer, to TPC. Counselor Dobbs.
Yeah, thank you. So this orders comes from the Ordinance Review Committee that I was the chair of, and Councilor Perry was the vice chair. This came from our final report of recommendations. Basically, we had a public forum last summer where members of the public gave their recommendations for the Ordinance Review Committee to look at, and one of them was snow removal. And as a lot of people know, like, that's also a passion that I share. Something that I focus on a lot. And so we had a second public forum specifically about snow removal last year, and there were we had the Chief John Cartledge attending, as well as Director Lascalia, Parking Enforcement Director Nancy Forrestal, and so it was a very productive meeting. We also had members of the Disability Commission there. And so it was, there's only so much you can talk about in an hour, even just on one topic. And there were a lot of opinions, a lot of different ideas on how we can improve snow removal in Northampton. And so because we just weren't able to come up with a particular recommendation that would be ready to present to the council, there was just a lot of different opinions and ideas. So it felt like continuing the conversation on Transportation and Parking Commission might be the next best step, in particular because Director Lascalia is the chair, and Chief John Cartledge and Nancy Forrestal, they're all on that committee, or that commission. So it seemed like and those are the departments that enforce the snow removal ordinance. So it felt like that was the proper place to continue the conversation. Happy to ask Councilor Perry if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I think you really summed it up well. This is an issue that we've all been talking about for a bit, and I think it's really nice that we're getting some traction towards it because it is an accessibility issue. And I just want to note that today at the start, we had a lot of community members talk about volunteering and doing things. So when we were talking about snow removal, we also were talking about removing shrubs and clearing pathways. And so I'm hoping that this can move to parking and transportation, and we can keep that volunteerism and this understanding that we all live in this city and we can play our part. So that for me is like really exciting.
Cool. Councilor Stratton and then Councilor Loisel.
So, I think my only hesitance here is that I'm frustrated that another winter passed where we didn't accomplish anything. I hope this is a positive step. I mean, my colleague is on transportation and parking, and if he feels that this is the place to deal with it, then you definitely have the city officials. I think one of the challenges here is that this is much more an executive problem than a legislative problem. We have an ordinance on the books that would work. And it's been much more the challenges of applying it. That said, a few specific things. I want to, in a minute, propose amending this to also refer 285-29, which is the summer complement, the overhanging vegetation ordinances. Indeed, we heard about the volunteer efforts on that. I don't know if we can do that in a way that invites but does not require them to consider that. I also think that I'd like to suggest that they read through Massachusetts General Law 40U, which contains some pathways for escalating municipal fines to make them more collectible. Whether or not we chose to opt into that, it also contains technical standards for snow removal ordinances that an ordinance would have to meet before the state would help enforce it. And so I think that looking at those technical guidelines could help strengthen our ordinance, even if we didn't adopt that provision. Just, the state would require a snow ordinance to say these things if they were going to help. We should consider if those are good ideas, even if we're not doing this more drastic step of where municipal fines escalate to liens or something. Finally, one actual legislative problem with this ordinance that I've noticed concerns bus stops. Specifically, the abutter has responsibility for the sidewalk. PVTA apparently cleans in the bus shelters when present. DPW plows on the road, but not all the way up to the curb. But the actual curb or tree belt is nobody's problem under the ordinance. And so you get piles of snow collecting there, and then the wheelchair ramp and the bus can't drop on the snow pile. So it creates a big problem there. There's a bus stop, and the bus can't access the bus stop, basically, unless you're willing to or able to, jump over a snow pile or wade through slush. So, there was some discussion with Chief of Staff Wolf about maybe the PVTA could take increased responsibility for that. But it is one gaping hole in the current ordinance right now where there is this no man's land that's nobody's problem on top of the curb.
Okay. Councilor Loisel.
So my question about this is, we're referring it to transportation and parking for further study and recommendations regarding revision, but why don't we also refer it to legislative matters?
My answer would be that I'm hoping they'll come up with more specific legislation before we bring it
The
to
transportation
legislation.
and parking,
Yes, but
so
then
that-
they themselves will have suggestions about that language. But go ahead, Councilor
That's
Berry.
what I would say as well, is that when Councilor Dubs and myself and Councilor Moulton and the rest of the Ordinance Review Committee, we looked at a bunch of ordinances that we felt could be placed into different bodies that had more expertise before it came back. And so also to kind of talk to what Councilor Stratton was saying is that those are great comments, but I think those are things that we could talk about at parking and transportation, because I agree that there are holes in those things. I would push back against the language of telling people to read things, not knowing whether or not they've read those things. That's just a personal thing in what you just presented, but the reason why we're doing this is so that people who have the expertise, we felt parking and transportation, as Councilor Dubs said, had all of the people from the chief of police to the director of DPW and parking would be there.
So here's my question, though, because this says referring it to transportation for further study and recommendation regarding revisions. We have, how many city councilors are on that?
Two.
Okay. Okay, so I guess what I was wondering is, what if they say, well, we don't want to make any fixes. It's fine the way it is. And we feel like there should be changes. What happens then?
And I think that part of what we were hoping is that it would go to parking and transportation, and then we have another chance to talk about it at legislative matters or as a council.
Okay, thanks.
This is again the long road of governance.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I would just add that would be information for us, but we're the ones who would be in this scenario would be sponsoring and submitting the ordinance. Councilor Stratton.
So I apologize for the choice of words there. The mention of the discovery of Massachusetts General Law 40U actually comes from Alex Bowman in an email, and I thought it was very interesting reading and very informative. I had wondered, should this be going to legislative matters at the same time myself? And then I thought, well, there's ultimately a deadline there if we do that at the same time. I sort of hate that we've slipped deadlines on this, but at this point it is summer. So this is, so my personal thought would be that we refer it to transportation and parking today. And if we feel like we need to put some momentum into it again at some point, in a month or whatever, we could refer it to legislative matters. But I actually was moving to amend the order to include 285-29 as a referral but not a requirement.
Where's 20, wait.
285-29 in the Northampton Code of Ordinances is the overhanging vegetation ordinance.
We can't.
Oh, yeah.
Point of order. I don't think we can do that if it's not on the agenda.
Suggest examining.
Yes, I'm taking a minute. That would be my first reaction, but now I just have to think about it for a minute. So you want to amend this, this order to, I mean, I think you could amend it to add something. Yeah, so I think you can do that.
That's not on the agenda?
Amendments are never on the agenda. Well, I guess that's not true. They don't have to be on the agenda.
I mean, I do hear the concern. I think it is the same problem for mobility. In the winter, it's snow. In the summer, it is pricker bushes hanging into the sidewalk. And it both are abutter responsibilities, though the summer version has additional complications if it's a public shade tree or bush.
I guess I'd want to hear how the, how Councilor Garrick, Perry. Yeah.
I agree with it. It's one of the things that we discussed in the Ordinance Review Committee. I think the two things go hand in hand. One is a winter and one is a summer or, thing. So my question is, when does parking and transportation meet? When is that next?
Third Tuesday.
Next month? Yeah. Do we have a city council meeting before then?
Yeah, it's the one, the meeting that was supposed to be next Tuesday was canceled, so it'll be the third Tuesday of May.
I am just kind of inclined to think that maybe we could add that as another order or amend it. I really do think that it is something that they should look at. So what do you think?
It is something that we actually talked about on the ordinance review. We talked about that ordinance as well. And so I would be open to either amending the order or having a separate order for it. But I would be open to adding or making that amendment now. Yeah. Because I agree that it is very similar. Like, summertime, there's obstruction from shrubbery. And was there somebody else? Sorry. Okay.
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, Councilor Stratton, so you can either make a motion to amend. I'm ruling that you can do that, or it sounds like the ordinance review folks would also be supportive of bringing a separate order to our next.
Can I have a point of clarification?
Yeah, point of clarification.
Yeah, so just if we combine these two, the vegetation and the snow, is that more complicated than if one passes, the other doesn't? Or is it better to keep them separate? I mean, they are, the vegetation grows back, so they can enforce it in May. August, it'll be back. So and I know the snow keeps coming, but just maybe wondering if it matters.
Yeah, if you're asking me, I'd say it does, and that's a good point. But yeah.
So from my perspective, I have spoken to the thought, and that's clearly in the record. I have proposed an amendment, but nobody seconded it. And if nobody seconds it, it dies.
I wasn't aware that you had actually made a motion.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Okay, so wait, but now we lost the motion maker, but we got a second. Do we have?
Well, no. Well, I mean, I'm sorry. What I was going to say is that I thought I had made the motion, but I wasn't going to push strongly for it if people felt this was the wrong time.
I appreciate that.
Because I put the idea into the public thought.
Are you making the motion?
You can take a minute. Did we say, though, that we have another meeting before TPC? Yeah. So actually, we could do it then if you want more time to think about it. Yes, Councilor Perry.
Could I would say that I would like to talk to Solicitor Seawald as well, just because with Councilor Clemmer's question about if we package it together. So I would support the amendment because I think the two go together. But if we're feeling like this is not the biggest thing, we can move on.
I didn't mean to get us, into a legal tangle here. Tangle of briars is a concern, but
No, clearly your idea has traction. with those.
I will defer to my colleagues here, in particular, Council Dubs.
Yes.
What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with what Councilor Perry just said. Considering that Solicitor won't actually have this language for this order, I think it would be probably best to run this by him. Since he drafted this language, so he could help us for the next order. Is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
I'm going to withdraw my proposed amendment and let us refer this, and we'll see where things stand.
Yeah, I don't think you need to withdraw because we didn't know you had made it. But Mayor, did you?
Yeah, just on a different, going back to something that I said before, I just wanted to let the council know that we've already been exploring 40U. So that's something that we've been talking about already.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. So, do we ever make a motion to refer this? We did, yes. So we need to vote on our motion to refer this to TPC. Any other comments before we vote? Okay, roll call on referral to transportation parking.
Councilor Loisel.
Yes.
Councilor Maori.
Yes.
Councilor Nabad.
Yes.
Councilor Perry.
Yes.
Councilor Robbins.
Yes.
Councilor Stratton.
Yes.
Councilor Davis.
Yes.
Councilor Dubs.
Yes.
And Councilor Clemmer.
Yes.
Okay, so that will be going to transportation. So now just a point I'm going to ask you, Laura, is that it's being referred, so we actually can't. If we refer it, it won't be on the consent agenda. It won't be on the agenda of our next meeting. So I didn't think about that till later. So anyway, but we could put an amended order okay, we'll worry about that then. Okay, thank you. And now we're moving on to 26.056, an order to approve an exemption for Daniel R. Graham, contract for personnel services in first reading. This is this type of order we will see around this time of year. It's pretty.
This exact one. We've seen it for a few years in a row.
Yeah, so why don't we, before we make any motions,
I just moved to waive the first, to change the rules and waive the first reading, and, have a second reading.
I'd second that.
Okay.
To do 2 readings?
Sure.
2 readings, thank you, yeah.
Okay, wait, so we're suspending the rules to vote?
Suspend the rules to have a second reading.
Okay, so suspension, okay. Does anyone want to speak to suspension? We're going to talk about the actual order, but does anyone want to talk about the suspension of rules before we vote on that? Okay, roll call on suspending the rules so we can vote on this item tonight. Okay, 26.25.
Councilor Maori.
Yes.
Councilor Nabad.
Yes.
Councilor Perry.
Yes.
Councilor Robbins.
Yes.
Councilor Stratton.
No.
Councilor Davis.
Yes.
Councilor Dubs.
Yes.
Councilor Clemmer.
Yes.
And Councilor Loisel.
Yes.
Okay, so that, we will suspend the rules, and now, but we don't have a motion to approve yet, so we can either make a motion or we can hear from the mayor first. Either way.
I would move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
So a motion made by Councilor Perry, second by Councilor Clemmer to approve this order tonight. Yes. 26.056. So, okay, discussion. Mayor, would you like to?
I mean, not much to say. So Mr. Graham is a Northampton Public Schools employee. He also, in the summer, is the Camp HAMP program director. And so this is a process we need to go through to allow him to do that work in the summer, which does not at all interfere with his Northampton Public Schools work.
And now this is jogging my memory that every year we say, is there a way that we can do this so that we don't have to have him go through this process?
And the answer is no.
Okay. Well, I'll see you again next summer. Okay. With the same question. Yes, Councilor Perry.
And I just want to say the reason why I seconded that motion to suspend the rules is because this has come before us before, and that it is a city employee who wants to help our kids and our community. And so I think it's really important. And so anything I believe that we can do to ease that process in, as you said, President Maori, feels good to me.
Great. Yeah. Councilor Clemmer.
I agree with what Councilor Perry said, and also we'd like to let him know what he's going to be doing this summer, and so he can start planning also, and get on with things. So I'm happy to move it along.
Good point. Yes. Okay. So any other comments about this before we vote to approve? Okay, roll call on approval.
Counselor Nabad.
Yes.
Counselor Perry.
Yes.
Counselor Robbins.
Yes.
Counselor Stratton.
Yes.
Counselor Davis.
Yes.
Counselor Dubbs.
Yes.
Counselor Clemmer.
Yes.
Counselor
Yes.
Loisel.
Yes.
And Counselor Maori.
Yes. Okay. Oh, and now we have Sarah. Okay, great. And then, but I'll also come back to you, Councilor Stratton. So now we have 26.059, an order amending order 25, the one with 299 to allow acquisition by eminent domain. And we have Sarah LaValle, and I'm going to find her. There she, oh, great, thank you. Good evening, Sarah.
Oh, all right, thank you. Sorry, I couldn't jump on quite fast
That's
enough.
okay.
I wasn't expecting the jump, but thank you. So basically, this is just an administrative switch to the way that we are planning to acquire a conservation property. So council has already approved both the CPA allocation and the overall acquisition of this property. This doesn't change any of that. This doesn't change the willing buyer, willing seller, or negotiated price. The only reason that we're doing this is because the title to the property was a little bit cloudy due to some issues going back to woodlot descriptions from the 16 and 1700s. And the easiest way for a municipality to clear that is to do an eminent domain taking. It's not a typical eminent domain taking. This is friendly. This is based on a negotiated price with the sellers. But it's just the easiest way to clear up the title. So the reason this is before you is because Conservation Commission is authorized to do many things, but it's not authorized to take property by eminent domain. So that would be an action of the city. So that's the only switch. It's really just the mechanism of the acquisition, but everything else remains the same.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Councilor Stratton, you had some comments you wanted to make.
Yes, I'm extremely excited about this. It's in Ward 6, but it's something I was paying attention to even before I started running for office. And I was out there one day in January a year ago, and I ran into a gentleman walking his dog, and he said, "Oh, I hear the gravel pits sold." So I looked at that, and yes, the gravel pits that have recently, been in our public process did sell, and I got thinking, okay, when they build there, there'll be open space reservations that'll probably come to the city. So I started exploring around, and I was like, well, that's not actually the interesting part. The interesting part is this privately owned stuff over here, but I can't go there because it's privately owned. Then a few months later, last summer, there was a meeting where the city was suddenly talking about buying all of this privately owned stuff. And it's wonderful because, on a map, and I wish I could more easily show this, but on a map, it just sort of looks like it's expanding the conservation area. But one of the things it's really doing is tying the eastern and western parts of the conservation area together. Because currently, the only way to get from one side to the other is on these plank bridges that go across the bog. And you can't ride a bike on them. I mean, you'd have to be very steady on your feet. The wood is slippery and mossy. This brings an old logging road that goes right through. Actually, I think it was probably in some point, the predecessor of a county highway or something that's been abandoned. And the city's existing access out to the Drury Lane side on the west, it goes up a very steep hill. This brings a more gentle path that goes kind of across the hillside, across this beautiful upland meadow that I think Sarah would call a plain, which is the technical term for that. So this is really interesting woodland. It has great history. One slight regret here is that some of the lot lines on the tax map are being erased because it'll all be city-owned, and these go back hundreds of years. I mean, to when, the founders of Northampton, they held all the woodland in common, and then at some point that wasn't working, so they chopped it up kind of almost along lines of latitude, micro scale. And so these records, as Sarah was saying, they go back so far, and yes, figuring out all the details and the mistranscriptions through the 100 years of deeds. So it's a really interesting area, and I'm really excited that, this is a very technical step, but that this is moving forward, and I understand this is probably going to be completed in the next month or two. So yeah, I mean, this is a technical step, but I move to, what are we doing with this? But, sorry, I'm not going to make a motion, but yeah, I'm very excited about this.
Excellent. Okay. So do you can make a motion, and we can continue talking if you'd like, or we can come back. Anyway.
But actually, it's not even necessary.
Oh, because
it's not a financial order, so it just will usually just
yeah,
introduce and
that's
appear on the next
right, unless there was a special. Yes. Okay. Councillor Robbins, thank you for that.
I just have a question for Sarah. There's no chance they want to throw Clear Falls in, is there?
Not at this point, no.
Not at this point. That was just such a special, terrific place. What an asset for the city that would be. But thank you for everything you did to get this piece of land. It's going to be treasured.
Yeah, it's a really exciting parcel.
Excellent. Okay, so we don't have to do anything. Okay, that will just appear on our agenda, our next agenda. So is that, we got all those down. Now we're on to ordinances not yet referred. Did you see Carolyn? Did you talk to Carolyn earlier?
I talked to her.
We could move that out of order. Is that the only thing she has to say? Yeah, so would the council be okay with us moving up 26.054, the ordinance to exempt two-family homes over 2,500 to, so that Director Mish could maybe go home? Okay. Oh, we keep doing this. Okay, I thought we did see her, though. Yeah, let me just double check, because she was, I thought, no, there she is.
Oh, good.
Yeah, no, we got her. Good evening. Hold on, I'm going to ask you to unmute. There you go. Huh. Okay, you should be unmuted, Director.
Good evening. Thank you. I appreciate being moved up on the agenda. So this ordinance is coming to you all. We actually discussed this in legislative matters just as a general item about a month ago, I guess I would say. And there are two pieces to this. Basically, the primary consideration is to remove the site plan review criteria or planning board public hearing for two families, just as single families are exempted from having to come to the planning board regardless of size. And the use of two families, City Council adopted an ordinance back in 2022 allowing two families everywhere in the city. But if you're at currently the way the zoning ordinance is written, if you're proposing a structure that has 2 units in it and it exceeds 2,000 square feet, you're still coming into a planning board approval process, which creates impediments to people who want to build, add 1 additional unit. So this really is a mechanism to say, in total, if you're building a 2-family, it is by right, you don't have to go to the planning board for site plan review. The other piece of it is to increase the threshold for site plan review. We have an intermediate project threshold at 2,000 square feet, and we also have a major project threshold at 5,000 square feet, and this is for gross floor area of construction across the city, no matter what the project. It could be housing, it could be office, it could be retail. And so the other component to this is just raise up the threshold from 2,000 square feet to 2,500 square feet. And the planning board has discussed this and looked at it, and the rationale behind that is that 2,000 square feet is a fairly small size, small scale project to push people into a public hearing process that takes 2 to 3 months. It adds time and money in terms of getting site engineers to develop a site plan for applicants. So it's just giving a little bit more wiggle room for those small scale projects to be able to move forward without that additional cost. And so those are sort of the two pieces of this zoning amendment that we're asking to be referred out for public hearing. It would have to go to both legislative matters and the planning board for public hearing before coming back to city council for final vote. Many times we do joint public hearings with the planning board and legislative matters so that the public can come to one hearing. Also, legislative matters can hear what planning board members might have to say and vice versa.
Thank you. Yes, questions for the director? Yeah, just a comment. Oh, I was just going to comment that, 2000, when you're having two family, but, that is, now I hear it. It could be quite small. Councilor Robbins.
Yeah, I do have a couple of questions. I think anybody expanding on an existing footprint is certainly not of a concern for neighborhoods, but I would be concerned about there not being oversight on new development. And does this proposal actually just exempt developers from coming in front of you at all in order to secure the right to build on a sliver of land?
So it would exempt, so single family homes of any size right now are exempt. So, we've got a few 8,000, 12,000 square foot single family homes. This would exempt a two family as well from going to the planning board. It doesn't exempt any other requirements of the zoning. So setbacks still need to be met, open space still needs to be met. The arrangement, we have two family, we actually have a design criteria specifically for two family construction, which is different from any other residential uses. So the applicants still need to comply with those very specific design criteria that the City Council adopted back in 2022. And those are absolutely still applicable. It's just the process of going to the planning board for the planning board just to look and check the box that the applicant has actually met all that design criteria, when in fact it's already specified in the code, and you have to meet those. So the only reason why someone would come to the planning board if two families are exempt and they're, you're building, let's say, a 3,000 square foot structure with two 1,500 square foot units, if the applicant has a different way of designing a project that doesn't specifically meet the two-family design standards, that would trigger a planning board review. But if you're going to meet all of those standards that are in the checklist in the zoning ordinance, then you wouldn't have to go to the planning board.
So I had two more questions. Thank you for that. One is then, so the planning department, sustainability and planning, would still have oversight of these applications. So it would be coming under your aegis. You would be going through that checklist. And then the second one is this issue of the toothpaste building. So would they be limited at 2.5 stories?
I haven't heard a toothpaste building analogy before.
You squeeze the site, right, and it just gets taller.
Oh,
yeah.
The height requirements stay the same, so there's nothing changing about that. I mean, I think the fact that we have, which is another issue that we'll be working on, is setbacks. Certainly having wider setbacks forces or bigger setbacks forces buildings to be smaller footprint but taller. And that's a separate issue. The height limits stay the same, so you still have to build within that. To answer your question about the review process, the building department, the building commissioner is ultimately the person with the jurisdiction to enforce the zoning ordinance. We have a long-standing procedure whereby staff from the planning office meet every week with the building department to review those zoning code requirements. And so, yes, there is oversight by the city to make sure that the zoning is being met, and that is a combined effort between the building department and the planning office.
So my final question is, how would the public be aware of those applications and that that was going to be happening in their neighborhood?
I believe all the building permits are accessible online. There's no notice that's sent to abutters for many projects, but anyone in the city can go online and check applications for building permits. In fact, we're moving towards a more unified permit online permit portal, which allows the public to look at permits from a variety of different departments. And the building department is going to be onboarding onto that system very shortly.
Okay, I'm so sorry to take up your time, but I have one short question then. So I think there will not be then a public hearing for new development of two-family or possibly the 4 apartment buildings for abutters.
Correct. If the two-family is exempt or 2 half-scale, 4 half-scale units, then there wouldn't be a public hearing, and therefore there would not be notification to the abutters, so long as all the criteria that's been previously approved by the city council as sort of the regulatory design criteria, as long as that has been met, there would be no public hearing.
Thank you.
Councilor Nabad.
Yes, thank you so much for answering so many questions. And I have one, which is, I'm assuming there's a process for like plumbing and electricity inspections and things like that. That's just part of the normal process.
Absolutely. The building code review is stays the same no matter what, and there's never any public hearings for any construction, any building code, compliance.
Councilor Perry.
Yes, thank you, Director Mish, for coming, and I also want to thank our the chair of Legislative Matters for kind of reading the tea leaves, and we've talked about this a little bit, and I believe that this would have to go to Legislative Matters, so I'd like to make a motion to send this to Legislative Matters.
Yes.
Second.
So motion made by Councilor Perry, second by Councilor Clemmer to refer this item to Legislative Matters. So that's.
It actually has to go to the planning board too.
Oh, right.
Oh,
but we
that's-
we've okay. So we've referred. You would. So do we need to withdraw that, or can we? You could just add.
Can I add?
Clarify. Yeah.
Can I refer this to both Legislative Matters and Planning Board with the caveat that the chair will discuss with the Planning Board when that can happen?
Yeah.
I don't think the caveat needs to be said, but.
Yes. No, I get it. And so motion. And do you want
And I
to?
second.
And Councilor Clemmer seconds that. Yeah. I guess you could just a point of pondering. You could probably do 2 different motions to refer to. But no. This is much more efficient. I just like to clarify in my head. Okay. So there's a motion on the floor. I just wanted to say. That the reason we picked this up in 2022, and this is in keeping, is to get single-family homes and construction of them or renovation of them on par with 2 families, because there's kind of a bias in our country and in our state towards allowing greater, kind of latitude to single-family homes. And so with a nod to the housing crunch, that is kind of the philosophy behind both the 2022 action we took on council and on this item. Okay, so any other comments, Councilor Stratton?
Yeah, I would just like to say a few things briefly. I mean, somewhat echoing what my colleague, Councilor Robbins, said. Tonight we had votes on secondhand dealer licenses, which seem very, very pro forma, but it was a public process. And I think part of what's happening here is that these duplex approvals are very, very pro forma, and the rules are pretty, it's a technical permit, and there's not a lot of decision making. Yet it also does get what's coming in the public eye. I think people come and they speak their concerns, and then they're told that their concerns are not really relevant under our current ordinances, but that does bring knowledge of what our ordinances are. And I think some instances where maybe our current ordinances don't actually meet the public, concern. And I'm not really talking about the principle of duplexes, but various details like, can you park in your driveway without blocking your own garage, or do you have to park on the street bothering your neighbors? Because if you park in your driveway that's compliant with, you'd be blocking your garage. I mean, that's not a topic before us, but it's one of the kinds of concerns that these hearings do bring up, even though it's not a criteria there either. I do know, for example, that East Hampton's permitting system is much more modern than ours, and it's much easier to find some types of building permits and things there. So I think that's a very positive step. But, you know, when we take this up in the public hearing, I think I'm going to be thinking about it as the balance between labor saving, shall we say, for the board and the developer versus, you know, public participation and understanding.
I'll just,
I think he's kind of going off in the weeds here. With what's on the agenda. The agenda is just to talk about what's happening in Northampton with,
Okay.
with the two-family homes.
All right, well,
I was finished anyway.
okay. Yeah, it's, you know, if it's relevant to the order, but yes, we should keep it relevant to the order. All right, any other comments before we vote on this referral to legislative matters and planning board? Try not to forget about you, Counselor Davis. Nope, okay. So let's take a roll call.
Counselor Perry.
Yes.
Counselor Robbins.
Yes.
Counselor Stratton.
Yes.
Counselor Davis.
Yes.
Counselor Dubbs.
Yes.
Counselor Clemmer.
Yes.
Counselor Loisel.
Yes.
Counselor Maori.
Yes.
And Counselor Nabad.
Yes.
That passes. Okay, well, I look forward to hopefully a play date with the planning board. They're fun.
Full house.
Full house. I'm thinking a 10-minute. We only have we're getting there. Oh, did I skip something to go back to Carolyn? Let me just make sure. Did we
skip the
We skipped the
Yeah, let's
ordinance.
go back. Okay. Let's do those before. I was going to say after we do the ordinances, we jumped ahead. So let's go back and finish the ordinances that the ordinance review committee brought us, and then I would like to take a 10-minute break before we get into resolutions. So back to these to 26.051, an ordinance rescinding 24(1) obscene or profane language in street prohibited. That's on first reading. And then we have, should I read through them all? I'm going to read through them all, and then we could possibly take them as a group if we wanted. And the 26.052, an ordinance rescinding 312-87, thumbing, first reading. And then finally, 26.053, an ordinance rescinding 245-13-20, inclusive hawkers and peddlers of fish, fruits, and vegetables, and first reading. So these were brought to us by our team at the Ordinance Review. So if you'd like to speak to those, they do have to be referred to legislative matters. They're required. So
Can I move that we refer to legislative matters?
Sure. Yes, and if you
I'll second that.
Wait,
Well, could I say that we should refer them as a group,
yes,
please?
I'm going to suggest
Just so we don't have to vote all, can we, so.
That's what I
If
meant.
you were willing to do the motion of all A through C, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Micromanage.
So motion.
I said them.
Right, motion to refer A through C to legislative matters made by Councilor Loisel. Is there a second? Councilor Dubbs, seconds. Okay, now it's on the floor for referral. Yes, Councilor Robbins.
So I just want to say, while we have our little input on it, that I love thinking about the city and the discussions that must have happened in order to make these ordinances. And I just want to say, I had no idea, and thank you very much for not arresting me, because there's a couple here that I think we can all say we've probably had challenges with before.
I thought I saw you hitchhiking. Okay. No. All right, so the motion's on the floor. Any other comments from the ordinance review or anyone? Do you want?
Basically, these are very out of date and not really relevant to, today's world. So it seems like it's time for them to go.
Got it.
And while we've talked about this, I want the public to know that if you're really into finding out some of the weird ordinances, you can go and look at the Ordinance Review Committee meetings, if that's your bag, where we had some giggles about, hawkers and peddlers of fish and thumbing. But we did a lot of due diligence to get here to rescind it. So I feel really comfortable sending this forward.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for the work you've done. You guys had a lot on your plate and you're getting through a lot, so thank you. Okay. Any other, so we need to still vote on that. Roll call on referral to legislative matters as a group.
Sure. Councillor Robbins.
Yes.
Councillor Stratton.
Yes.
Councillor Davis. Councillor Davis.
So, Councilor Davis, we're voting on referring the three ordinances to.
I'm sorry, I couldn't, there's something happened with the hearing.
That's okay.
Sound.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Okay. Councillor Dobbs.
Yes.
Councillor Clemmer.
Yes.
Councillor Loisel.
Yes.
Councillor Maori.
Yes.
Councillor Nabad.
Yes.
And Councillor Perry.
Yes.
Okay, so those will go to a very full legislative matters agenda. Okay, so now we're on to, I believe we only have the resolution left at this part of the agenda. So why don't we take a 10-minute break and then we'll talk about the resolution. So I will see you all back here at 8:21, and please turn your mics off. Okay, welcome back to the April 16th City Council meeting. Thank you. We're on to 15 resolutions. And And so 26.055, a resolution relative to community safety and immigration enforcement activities. This is in first reading, so we would be voting to refer or not refer. And then if we don't refer, it would be on our next agenda. So, yes, so we've got some sponsors here. Councilor Nabab, would you like to speak first? Any of the sponsors, and then I will speak too. But we can read it first. Yeah, why don't we take turns since we're all. Yeah. We'll read it first, and then we'll go to the sponsors. Thank you. Okay. So let me just get back to the. Sorry, I have to get to the link. Just get to the. Okay. Okay. I just want to pull up on my screen too because that's a little small. Okay. Upon the recommendation of Councilors Deborah Clemmer, Lori Loisel, Rachel Maori, and Gwen L. Nabad, this is a resolution relative to community safety and immigration enforcement activities within the city of Northampton. I'll read the first paragraph and then we can go from there. Whereas the city of Northampton proudly strives to be a welcoming community committed to the rule of law, dignity, and equity for all residents and visitors, regardless of immigration status, country of origin, and affirms that all born free and equal were with certain unalienable rights under the U.S. Constitution and the Massachusetts Bill of Rights, regardless of an immigration status, and
whereas the City of Northampton committed to protecting the rights of all community members as delineated in the December 5th, 2019 Northampton's Safe City Ordinance, Article 3, Sections 241/8-10 of the City of Northampton Code of Ordinances, which states that the city does not ask for families or individuals' immigration status, coordinate with ICE activities, allow ICE agents access to non-public areas of city facilities without a judicial warrant signed by a federal judge, share records with ICE without consent or a court order issued by a judge, except where disclosure is specifically required by federal or state law.
Whereas the city's mayor, police chief, and health director in February 2026 reaffirmed the city's commitment to protect those most at risk, preserve public trust, and uphold the rule of law by working in coordination with state leadership within the bounds of local authority to uphold dignity and safety for all. And
whereas the City of Northampton and its public safety personnel are sworn to uphold the safety, protection, and security of all city residents and visitors, regardless of their country of origin, and
whereas fear of immigration enforcement, specifically by agents of the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, is known to deter vulnerable residents from reporting crimes, appearing in courthouses, seeking emergency assistance, accessing essential services such as medical treatment and attending school, effectively undermining public safety for all, and
whereas the increase in ICE patrols and activities in multiple states and cities has jeopardized public safety by leading to civil rights violations of citizens and non-citizens, as well as assaults, kidnappings, and killings, thereby making community less safe, not more safe, and
whereas the Trump administration indicated it will continue to use ICE agents and troops in American cities, even in violation of local or state regulations, targeting immigrants, communities of color, protesters, and municipalities whose elected officials oppose Trump or his policies, and
whereas the City Council rejects a society where armed members of law enforcement patrol the streets without visible identification and with masks covering their faces, and also affirm that nobody is above the law, especially those authorized to enforce the law.
Now, therefore, be it resolved that all residents deserve to live, work, learn, and access public services without fear of discrimination or intimidation based on immigration or perceived status. And
be it resolved that the City Council recognizes that public safety is strengthened and enhanced when all residents feel safe to interact with local government and law enforcement. And
be it resolved, because a community has a responsibility to support and protect vulnerable residents, the City Council reaffirms its commitment to protect the rights of all community members, particularly vulnerable immigrant and undocumented community members. And
be it resolved, the Northampton City Council hereby condemns the unconstitutional actions of President Trump, his appointees, and federal agents engaged in unlawful operations against Massachusetts communities on the basis of perceived race, ethnicity, language, class, or political views, and call on other communities and public officials to join in this condemnation. And
be it resolved that the Northampton City Council urges the state legislature to pass the PROTECT Act, HD 5608, and the Safe Communities Act, S 1681, and H2.580, designed to strengthen oversight, safeguard constitutional rights, and limit cooperation with federal immigration enforcement in an effort to restore trust between communities and the public institutions that protect and serve them.
be it resolved that the Northampton City Council supports the practice of prohibiting local, state, and federal law enforcement from concealing their faces or badge identification numbers. And
be it resolved that any immigration enforcement undertaken in Northampton in violation of the Constitution should be subject to accountability, investigation, and prosecution to the fullest extent of the law. And
be it further resolved that the administrative assistant of the City Council shall send this resolution to Governor Maura Healey, Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll, Senate President Karen Spilka, House Speaker Ronald Mariano, Senator Edward Markey, Senator Elizabeth Warren, State Senator Joanne Comerford, and State Representative Lindsay Sabadoza, Northwestern District Attorney David Sullivan, Mayor Gina Louise Shera, Police Chief John Cartledge, and Superintendent Portia Bonner.
Okay. So I have some words to speak. You guys can go first, but I did want to just kind of frame it, which is to say some background that our mayor and our police chief and our health commissioner all came up with a joint statement, which we were all very appreciative of. And after that, I think the community was looking for city council to kind of weigh in and show our solidarity. We have, if you look at the history of city council, we have many resolutions supporting, anti-racist resolutions around safe communities. But this is a new and particular situation happening, and some things are getting much worse. So we felt the need to weigh in as well as a body, as a wing of this city government. So why don't my sponsors go first, and then we can see where we're at. Or I can go, but
okay.
No, go ahead.
Sure. I really don't have. I don't really plan anything to say tonight.
That's okay. I mean, this is for referral, so we can.
Yeah.
There'll be another chance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
For sure. Yeah.
So it's not mandatory to speak.
Thanks.
Do you want me to go? I'm proud to be one of the co-sponsors of this resolution because I care deeply about the safety and well-being of everyone in our community. For many of our residents, especially immigrant families, there's a real sense of fear right now, and that affects how people go about their daily lives and accomplish the day-to-day tasks that we all take for granted. When I co-chaired in Invisible Northampton, I worked with the ACLU and formed a rideshare group which provided rides for immigrants who needed to get to court dates, ankle monitor check-ins, doctor's appointments, or any other required appointments. These are already hard requirements to meet, as many of these families don't have cars and have small children to care for, And now there's the added fear of being picked up by ICE along the way, or just not feeling safe in places that should feel safe. This resolution is simply a way for us to acknowledge those concerns and say that we value transparency, accountability, and the dignity of everyone who lives here. I am also proud of our city, of my fellow elected officials, and for residents for being willing to speak up, to condemn what's causing harm, and stand up with all our residents. This isn't about overstepping our role. It's about using our voice to support the people we represent and affirm the kind of community we want to be, the one where people feel safe, respected, and able to live their lives without fear.
So I wanted to just acknowledge the comments that were made during public comment and say how I feel about resolutions. I think they help bring a culture change. And so even though they are largely symbolic, I think they express values and that are really important to express. I will work with the other co-sponsors to consider whether we want to amend it at all based on the comments we heard. But I also feel like I don't like to, basically make promises we can't keep. And, we don't have a lot of authority over the Attorney General and the DA and stuff. So I feel like, we kind of took it as far as we could in terms of expressing our preference, I don't want to see law enforcement walking around the city with masks on. I feel like it's scary, and it's not the kind of city we want. So that's why we included that. But we don't really have enforcement authority. But I still feel like it's valuable to endorse a resolution like this. And what I like about it is that it builds on what the mayor and her team have already done and what the city councils have done in the past. So
Yeah, and, Amherst has a different form of government with a town manager system. And, this is non-binding, it's aspirational. But I think every resolution should be organic to the community. And I've worked on a lot of resolutions, and finding that balance of having a strong voice without veering into being performative and especially in this case, I want to be very cautious. I don't want to give the impression we have control over things that we frankly don't. And it actually makes folks unsafe if we don't own the part that we don't have power over. And I know we would love to, but the mayor, city council, we can't control the federal administration. And, my opinion is, so ICE, if you recall, came to being after the September 11th attacks, and it's frankly always been problematic. Immigration is not terrorism. Enforcement is not the way to address issues in a circuitous process at best in our nation. And so it's kind of set up to be this, and now, of course, under our federal administration now, it's being kind of weaponized. It is being weaponized. Terrible family separation, neglect, abuse, killings. And their power has grown much faster than methods of accountability. And that is terrifying. So, I don't think we can stay silent. And I think that, and I know from what I've read, that the overwhelming majority of Americans think that ICE is out of control. And there's many issues we could delve into, but I wanted, again, we can spend a lot of time crafting this, but we wanted to get it out here because it is very timely right now. And I'm happy to entertain amendments, but I've also been part of resolutions that took much longer to get to the floor because we were trying to kind of include too many things in one resolution. So that's just to say that I am open as well to hearing about any additions. But yeah, it's frightening. People in our community are really scared, and I mean, I think what I know for sure is that we can tell them that this city council is thinking about them, and we will do, and the mayor as well. We will do anything in our power to protect vulnerable community members. But we also know that it's best for us all to show up together on this, and that means the community as well. This is a big issue, and we've seen it, how it played out in Minneapolis. And without the community outside of city government involved, we won't be able to meet this challenge here. So this is also a call to our community. It's going to take every single one of us being aware and informed to mitigate the harm that could be done to our community. Okay, anyone else? Councilor Stratton.
A very small thing, but as the council president just mentioned, some of these are in a way federal issues. So I was wondering if the sponsors included our U.S. senators, but did you want to include our representative in the House? I don't really think we need to lecture Jim McGovern on this, but did you want to include him as a recipient?
I think that's an oversight on my part. Yep. Thank you. So we will.
But you didn't really think this was a lecture, did you?
So yes, no, I would. I think we just, there was a lot of names there. So, especially someone who's been so vocal. Yes, Council Robbins.
I want to say thank you so much to the sponsors of this. You've really captured a lot of the things that I think are very close to home and what people are feeling. And I'm sure you've heard from other constituents and residents about them, feeling very strongly, feeling in danger, thinking about what can you do, and being approached by people with some good ideas as well, a number of which you've incorporated. We heard from people speaking tonight about, I thought, good ideas that they put in place, and some of them have reached out and made suggestions to me and perhaps to you as well about what a resolution really can do in terms of having a little bit more teeth in it. So I gave you each a copy of sort of a short synthesis of an amendment to the end of it, which really isn't about most of it isn't about what we would be engaged in doing directly in our community, but like resolutions of the past where we've said no nuclear materials transit through town, or made resolutions about wars that are far away from us, or things over which we really don't have any direct control. We have reached out to our legislators. We've reached out to the people who work in federal and state government, and we said, this is how our town feels. This is what we would like. We would like to let you know this is what the people in our city is saying about what we think your role is. And so I've added a suggested, I know we're going to continue to talk about this, a suggested amendment. Portions of it come from the work that Amherst has done on theirs. Most of it is really directed at state and the AG and the DA here, a good portion of it. And in addition is something that we spoke, the mayor and council president and I spoke, and I think a few other people have, about what we can do, which is educate the people who live in this city about what do you do? What do I do when my neighbor gets snatched? What do I do when I drive somebody to do asylum papers and ICE is waiting outside the courthouse for them? What do I do when I see this happen? Maybe walking my child to school or in the lineup to school. I don't know what the first thing is I should do. And there's some very, very good suggestions. Educators for Social Responsibility has put out some very informative lists with, call these people. What do you do when you see it? What should you record? Much of what you have in here is around evidence, collecting evidence, but most people in the city don't know what the evidence needs to be. So it could be primarily, who are you? Where do you live? Give me your phone number. Who's your family? And the city could be very helpful in synthesizing what that evidence is, working with the number of organizations that have that to share, that are active, that are viable, and continuing in many ways to share that ongoing with the community, especially as they're updated, making sure they're visible, making sure that they're accessible by vulnerable people or people who really do want to help and want to take that in. Many people know they should have Luce on their speed dial, but Luce comes after the fact. And if they come and talk to you and the person you're talking to is gone, they don't know how to contact them or where they came from, it's too late. And your heart is good and you're trying to do the right thing, but you don't have the information they need to follow through. So this is a synthesis of that to consider as you think about some alterations you might want to make. And I'm very grateful to the people who have come to me and offered their input, and to the people who came tonight to share it.
Councilor Robbins, so yes, well, first of all, thank you I know you've been working really diligently in the community on this issue, and I really thank you for that. You said you sent us something?
It's in that pile of stuff on your desk, Rachel.
Oh, when did this appear? Oh, okay, this? Okay. I have not looked at it. I will look at it. I would just say, generally with resolutions, they're kind of supposed to live in perpetuity. So you don't want to put any kind of directive in there that could change suddenly. Like, I wouldn't want to put any directions on how to deal with that specifically in there, because if it changes, that could be a problem, and it might actually put someone in danger. But I haven't looked at it, so perhaps I will look at it first. I heard you reference that, so I just wanted to pre-explain that, and I will look this over. Yes, Mayor and Councilor Stratton?
It's just super quick. First of all, thank you for the resolution. This is something that I've talked with many of you about for a long time, or longer than we'd like to have talked about it. May I just recommend, if I may, I see Superintendent Bonner's on here, but Superintendent Lincoln Hooker of Smith Folk.
Yes.
Because he's definitely, as we've had conversations with the superintendents, and he's been very involved as well. And he's another superintendent in our city.
Thank you. Yeah, I just didn't know. I thought I'd only talked to Superintendent Bonner about the specific issue, so I didn't know if she was.
He's been part of conversations.
Okay, great. So let's add those two names. That's what to be a friendly. But let's go to everyone first. And thank you for that. I appreciate that, Councilor Stratton.
So, we spend a lot of time here talking about issues where we have strong disagreements within this body and within this community. And fortunately, this is one where I think we are in the same direction of mind, and it's really just a question of details or what we're doing with this. And I thank my colleagues for drafting this and bringing it to us. And I would like to see a version of this pass. Thinking about, what is actually under our authority as a legislative body. I mean, we're not legislating here. We are speaking. There are possibly some very narrow things we could actually consider as an ordinance, which gets into the difference between legislative and executive power, even on a local basis. And those are conversations we could have. But here, we are not passing laws. We are speaking. We are calling upon people. And, the difference between between local and local concern and federal excess, I don't really think that differs between us and our sister community Amherst across the river. Their local form is a little bit different, but they are a municipality dealing with a federal overreach. So I do actually think that, Councilor Robbins and the speakers in the audience who suggested that we maybe use some of their work, I think that's that's an idea that I would really like to see considered, recognizing, of course, that this is your resolution, not mine. In terms of, what we can actually do in a resolution, again, I would stress that we are speaking. And so I'm seeing in here that we are condemning what have been misbehaviors of the sitting U.S. president. We are making that statement. We are urging the legislature to pass legislation. So I'm not quite sure why we can't, in the language of this page, call upon the Attorney General, state officials and things to do things that we cannot order them, but we could still call upon them as a a speech of this body. So I would encourage, all of my colleagues to consider these ideas in the understanding that it is speech of the body. It is not legislation of the body. Thank you.
Thank you. And just a correction, it will be all of our resolution. So, so you should definitely chime in because it says City Council, and on the other side it will be owned by all of us. Okay, councilors, anyone who hasn't spoken who would like to speak. This is our first reading, so we have some choices to make, but this will not be the only swing at the bat to speak your mind on this. Okay, so we could refer, resolutions don't have to be referred to a subcommittee. You can refer them. And if we don't refer it, it will just go to the agenda of our next May 7th meeting.
Can I make a motion to have it go to our next agenda, please?
Okay, motion made by Councilor Robbins.
Second.
Wait, do we need, well, actually, we don't need, sorry. We don't, no, that's okay. What? Yeah, it just goes automatically, but thank you so you're opining that you think, we were curious about what other councilors thought about where it should go. So your opinion is it should go to the next council meeting.
So let me just clarify. So we would be voting if it went to legislative, but we wouldn't be voting to have it go to the next council meeting.
Right, exactly. Right. Yeah, it's yes.
I'm expressing an interest to have it go to the next council meeting.
Yes, got it. Okay, Councilor Nabad.
I'm thinking, I do want people in the community to have some input on this. And as much as I would love to push this through, because I think it's great and everything like that, I think, we heard some things from public comment tonight. As well, we do see in different states, there are states that are, enforcing law on a state level. And I agree with Councilor Stratton that it is a call. And so I guess I would like to make a motion to refer this to legislative matters.
Okay.
For discussion.
Yeah.
Further discussion.
Okay. Second?
I'll second that.
Okay. So we have that. So we have a motion made by Councilor Nabad and seconded by Councilor Davis to refer this to legislative matters. I was pondering with Councilor Loisel the idea of what, if we were going to refer to a subcommittee, what would be the ideal subcommittee, and I'm looking over it. I wanted to check in, though. We have some upcoming meetings and with both legislative matters, and I know both legislative matters and community resources have meetings and full agendas. So I just wanted to have that conversation. If we weren't going to, if we're not thinking of sending it to the consent agenda, what subcommittee would be, and I'm open. Yes, Councilor Stratton.
When my colleague brought this up, I was almost wondering, was she asking for a public hearing on this or something, which I guess what I'm saying is I would love to have the public have an opportunity to comment on this without losing their opportunity to comment on something that's legislative business that might be in the same meeting. So I would just love that, you didn't have to choose which thing did you want to speak to us about. So I would be thrilled if we could find a meeting where that wouldn't be a dilemma.
Interesting.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Typically, do resolutions go to legislative matters?
No, not typically.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Because I was wondering if maybe community resources was more a place where there could be something like a public hearing or testimony from the public to talk about how they're impacted.
So I'm going to remand my.
Well, I think we have to vote on the withdrawal of a motion, or do we?
But I wanted to see what you guys do about that.
Oh, right, that's right. Wait. Okay, wait, guys. Hold on just a sec. Councilor Nabad, I didn't mean to jump the gun. Were you saying that you wanted to withdraw? No.
I agree with you guys that probably the better place for this would be like, say, Committee on Community Resources.
Okay.
And if it's not, if we have not done this in terms of sending it to legislative matters because it's not a binding thing, then I think that would be the better.
Okay, great. And then Counselor Robbins, and then.
I'm just curious about what time you meet when you, at Community Resources.
Yeah, we've been.
I can answer. Normally, we meet at 5:30.
And yeah, I wish I'd thought to talk to you about this before, Chair, because so you have a pretty full agenda. Now we just sent a bunch of stuff.
So one of the things about, I think, community resources is that it is a space for community members to just talk and discuss things. So, I'm always open to have these discussions. And I think it is a place for it to be. I also have the pleasure of serving on both legislative matters and community resources.
Yeah.
So no matter what, I'm going to touch this, in addition to being a counselor. But I think I don't see any issues with us having a discussion about it for the public. I don't think that it's going to require a ton of time. I think that, as Councilor Stratton said, that I feel as a community, we all want to protect ourselves and protect our neighbors. So it's great to have it there, but I don't think it'll take away from anything that we would have at a community resources meeting.
Okay. Follow up on your question? Yes, and then Councilor.
So my question about what time it was kind of important for people to be able to, be here and be present and be able to do that. But I'm curious how many people come to community resources or watching it or virtually.
Well, my answer to that is how many people come to any committee. It depends on what the issue is. It depends on what you're discussing and talking about. So, a subcommittee, for instance, for our select committee for ordinance review, we had some meetings where very few people attended.
I was there.
Yeah, and then we had people who were there. Part of the point, I think, of these subcommittees, and especially community resources, is to have a record of our discussions, and so they can listen and hear how we feel about these things and see that we are talking about them. So, any meeting could have more people if you advertise it better. I've been talking about promo and publicity in our city government and disseminating information. So if I think if your question is, do we want to attract a lot of people, then that is upon us as a body to make sure we get the word out. Because every meeting for community resources and every subcommittee I've served on varies in attendance.
So you could do it though, so that it offered a sort of small public hearing. So people could come and they could offer suggestions, because you would be our reference back to the committee again about what they like there, what they'd like to change, how they feel about it, and give us some more information. Great.
Yes.
Okay. I know Councilor Clemmer, but I would like to go to Councilor Davis because she has not spoken yet. Councilor Davis, you can speak.
Thanks,
Okay, yeah.
Thanks. I jumped on the legislative matters bandwagon because the idea of discussion sounded like it was necessary, and I didn't. I wasn't aware that resolutions don't typically go to legislative matters. I guess I should have known that, but I didn't, and so it was more a matter of I agree with Councilor Nabad that input from the community is welcome and everything. So I don't know where it goes now, if we have to vote and then take it all back. I don't know, but that's why I did that. Thanks.
Okay, so we will. I believe we can just all agree, see if anyone objects to withdrawing. I'm just talking about the process. Okay, so that was to answer your question. We would just look to see if anyone objects, since we all own the motion that was made. Councilor Clemmer and then Councilor Loisel, I believe. No, okay, Councilor Clemmer.
Yeah, I just have another option. Since this is timely, people have been asking for this resolution for a while, and things are maybe getting worse and not better. I think time is of the essence, too, to pass this. We did hear from a group tonight, and they all pretty much said the same thing. And we have Councilor Robbins' recommendations on things we could add that we'll all look at. What I'd like to propose is having this go to our next city council meeting, and then maybe, because I know, Councilor Perry, you have a pretty full agenda, and then I think in May also you have something lined up. So maybe we can, at some point, and then advertise it better, just have a meeting about this resolution, and that would give you an opportunity to maybe expand the topic and bring in, I don't know, Chief Cartledge or whatever you think is appropriate, and make it more of a rounded discussion instead of just talking about the resolution.
Can I?
Councilor Perry.
Just because it has to do with me, I think that is a good suggestion, and I would defer to the people who have written this resolution, because again, there's a timely nature to it, but also I want to make sure that we're not taking this away from you and making sure that the intent of this is moved forward as quickly as possible. So I will always defer, and we'll make whatever needs to happen. So
Okay. Councilor Loisel.
So, yeah, I like that idea. What I like about it is I feel like between this meeting and our next meeting, we can incorporate this. We've heard from people. And then if we have we could have like a public hearing where people talk about the impact on their lives. And it's sort of like, rather than focusing on this document, which is, we all know, aspirational, but people can talk about how this impacts them. And that's important to educate the public about that, so.
Councilor Clemmer, yeah.
Yes, I've gotten emails from constituents too that have questions about the training the city's given to the police and other people. So I think it's a broader topic than just our resolution, that a lot of these questions could be answered. And I think if you guys are willing, I think it could be a really interesting, exciting meeting.
We'll go back and say
Go
that
ahead, yeah.
one of our most recent meetings in this term for community resources, we did talk about having a discussion about immigration in loose as well.
Yeah.
So these are things that we have talked about, so it does feel fitting. And if you separate the resolution, as Councilor Clemmer said, from the broader topics, there's a lot of things that go with that, how it intersects with our community. And so we've already started thinking about it, and I feel like it is a great place. So I just want that to be known, that we're here to do the work.
Yeah, I think that's really exciting, a great idea, because I think that would be a great location to get up-to-date information for on-the-ground decision-making from like Luce. And but I think we wouldn't have it would be a public forum, not a hearing, but it's the same thing, and there's so much latitude with subcommittees. So your idea, Councilor Clemmer, is we work on this until our next full council meeting, incorporate these, and then we wouldn't vote that night. We could refer, or we would. No, you would want to vote and then bring it to a subcommittee for more.
Right. I think this is timely. I think we need to
get
it done, and I think there's a lot of people that could come. Also, Director O'Leary maybe, and DCC, and people that really, see people that are affected by this. And I don't want to tell you how to run your meeting, but the mind's going. So
You ran them before.
Councilor Loisel.
Just to say that the idea that the idea. Sorry, here I'm talking. That endorsing a resolution is not the end of the work.
Got it.
So, we would vote on it, and then we would do something at a subcommittee meeting more. So
Yeah.
I think that resonates with me.
That's great. I think that work might be more important than the resolution, so I'm into it. I do want to, I'm just going to say this so you remind me, before we end this conversation, I want to vote on those friendly amendments. Yes.
I'm not going to push this real hard, but I think that, if the goal is to have a vote at the next full council meeting, I would think it would be wonderful if there was an opening for the public to comment before that. You know, if there was a
But we
way
have
to get
public
this.
comment. I don't under.
Well, but we're going to show up. The drafters are going to show up with the version they want us to vote on next time.
And you can offer
so that there
amendments.
isn't really, you know, public input into what that version is going to be. Now, technically, this is a resolution of the council, and yes, the full council, not the people of Northampton. That is the distinction, which I recognize. You know, it may not work schedule-wise, but I would be much happier if there was a way to get this before committee in like the last week of this month. But it's not something I'm going to push real hard. I would just
Yeah.
be happier with that.
I just want to chime in that we have a 90-minute public comment period, and we have people who email us. I don't feel like full council meetings aren't a place for the public to have input. Just going to say that. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Now, we're definitely looking for input between now and May 7th from the public. Yes.
So I really appreciate the input that you guys have had, and that I think those are great next steps. And I wonder if we can, how do we bring this to a place where we say, okay, this is what we're going to do? And can we make friendly amendments now? Is that an okay thing to do?
Yeah, we can make friendly amendments.
No, I just mean,
oh.
I thought we weren't using that terminology in city council.
Well, you can call it whatever you want.
Okay.
You could call
I
it
love
Scrivener.
No, I love seeing
mean-
it back, because school committee used it, and I hadn't heard it here. I'm just checking.
Okay. Great.
I think what she was referring to was like adding Jim McGovern and
Dr.
adding
Lincoln Hooker.
the superintendent of Smith Voc, not like substantive things.
No, I get that. I just was
Okay.
asking about the word friendly.
Okay. So so did anyone object to the withdrawal? Did we already do that? The withdrawal of your motion? I think no one did object. Okay. To refer to legislative matters. Now we're back to the document, which will go.
Can I make a motion or?
Nope, we don't make a motion because it will just go there automatically, so you don't have to. But I wanted to, I think to be on the safe side, we should vote on the friendly amendments or whatever, the Scrivener, but or not Scrivener, but technical amendments. So I would like to add our U.S. Rep. Jim McGovern to the last paragraph, and I would like to add as well Dr. Lincoln Hooker from Smith Voc after Superintendent Bonner. I guess we should just vote. Alex and I debated this for a while. Like I remember, if you needed to vote for these types, but anyway, let's vote because it's fun. Yeah, a motion from me. Oh, I guess it needs to be second if I'm going to make it a motion.
Second.
Okay. Second from Vice President Clemmer.
Councilor Stratt.
Yes.
Councilor Stratt, yeah, okay. Councilor Davis.
Yes.
Councilor Dobbs.
Yes.
Councilor Clemmer.
Yes.
Councilor Loisel.
Yes.
Councilor Maori.
Yes.
Councilor Nabad.
Yes.
Councilor Perry.
Yes.
And Councilor Robbins.
Yes.
Okay, so we've got our work cut out for us for next meeting. So, any new business? If there's no new business.
I'd move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Councilor Perry and seconded by Councilor Clemmer to adjourn.
And Councilor Davis.
Yes.
Councilor Dobbs.
Yes.
Councilor Clemmer.
Yes.
Councilor Loisel.
Yes.
Councilor Maori.
Yes.
Councilor Nabad.
Yes.
Councilor Perry.
Yes.
Councilor Robbins. And Councilor Stratton.
Yes.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.